Let's look at a famous, beautiful game played by Anderssen and Dufresne in Berlin in 1852. And it became famous instantly after it was played. It was so famous it even got a name. It is called the Evergreen game. So, game starts out e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop to c4, bishop to c5, and b4. So this is the Evans Gambit. In fact, we actually just made an opening study video on it. If you'd like to learn more about this opening, click the link on your screen right now and you can go view that video. But anyways, taking and accepting the gambit was the most common thing to do. c3, bishop to a5, all following main line, and d4, buying some time. So now e takes, and obviously he can't take back, so he's going to castle. And now d3, and this is just a waste of time. So the queen doesn't even bother to take back, or the bishop. Queen moves over to b3. Common goal in the Evans Gambit. Attack f7 with the queen and bishop battery, and queen to f6. So it seems kind of strange taking out the queen early, especially in the place of where the knight should go. And white actually exploits this first weird move of black's by e5. And now the queen has to find a different spot. Obviously, taking with the knight, so the queen actually moved to g6, but obviously taking with the knight would open up the e-file, and black's king is still far from castling. He has to move out the knight first. So we're not gonna take. Instead, he decided to play queen to g6. And now, white has to find a different way to attack. So he's gonna go with rook to e1, putting the rook on the file with the king, knight g to e7, and bishop to a3. So this is a very common setup in the Evans Gambit. And now black thinks, well, we're kind of screwed if we don't start counterattacking. So he's going to try to counterattack with b5. So queen takes b5, the pressure is off of f7, and now rook to b8. So attacking the queen, now the queen moves over to a4, and it looks like black may be getting a little compensation, right? Well, after bishop to b6, focusing the bishop's aim now on the king, so he can try to get a little more counterattack in. Knight to d2, bishop to b7, again, focusing the bishop's aim towards the king, and then knight to e4. Oops. So knight to e4. And then the queen now moves to f5. So, note that the black king is still stuck in the center. So now white decides, hey, taking the d-pawn is no longer a waste of my time, because now you're threatening knight to d6, check, winning the queen. So white does not lose any time by taking this pawn, because the queen is now forced away. So queen to h5, and then white finds a beautiful move. See if you can find a move that is just amazing. It's an attacking move. So the move is, if you did not find it already, knight to f6 check. A very beautiful move. It forces the recapture because obviously it's a fork on the king and queen. So obviously g takes back, and then the pawn takes. So you can see that the black king is still stuck in the center. It can't castle queenside. Castling kingside wouldn't really do much, especially because of the fact that this g-file is open. That's not going to be good. So instead, black decides to play rook to g8, threatening queen takes f3 because of the g-pawn pin. But white says, you know what? He can't checkmate me. He can't check me. He can't force anything on me. So, white decides to use his last free move, let's say, to gain some time. A rook to d1, putting another rook into the attack. And that is just beautiful. So now, the queen takes f3. So, oh no, The queen is now threatening checkmate with queen takes g2. This can't be good for white, can it? Especially since he's down in material. Well, let's see this forced checkmate coming up. So obviously white has to play checking moves, which would force the king to move or force some sort of immediate response because of the checkmate threat with queen takes g2. So, rook takes knight check. The knight takes the rook. And now, can you find the forced checkmate that white has here? Remember, it has to be all checking moves because of the queen takes g2 threat. Alright, if you thought of queen takes d7 check, you were absolutely right. So, in the game, the king took d7. Obviously, if the king just moves away, it's checkmate with queen takes knight. So we're not even going to go there. Takes here. So now, the bishop moves to f5, double check by the rook and the bishop. So the king now has to move somewhere, and it only has two moves. First move, which was played in the game, stays alive longer, is king to e8. And that lost after bishop to d7 check, king to f8, bishop takes e7. And obviously, it does not matter which way the king goes, the bishop checkmates either way. The second move that there is in this bishop to f5 double check situation is king to c6, but the checkmate is quite obvious. Bishop to d7 checkmate checkmates even faster. So that was just a very beautiful attack, and now you know why it's called the Evergreen game, because its beauty will live on forever. So the lessons that can come out of this game are 1. The Evans Gambit can be powerful if you play it right. 2. Focus on gaining time. This move, free move really, gained time. This move wasted time, and white's recapture was just brilliant. Or white's response not to recapture, let's say, was just brilliant, because taking this pawn would have wasted time. Instead, white plays a forcing move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you can just see how white only plays forcing moves, especially after move 20, when he gets that checkmate net. So, one lesson is, don't take out your queen too early, because it's going to get bullied around. As you saw with the e5 pawn push, you saw with the knight moves, the discovered checks and everything, the queen will get bullied around. Also, you need to castle. Castling soon. So castle early, because if the king is stuck in the center, something like this will happen. And this is just terrible. Especially since now black cannot castle. He's stuck in the center. That is why you castle, and those are the lessons that come out of this game. But it was a very beautiful checkmate, a beautiful game, and wow, this is just an amazing trap. Especially because black had a forced checkmate on white for 4 moves in a row. And he was up in material for a lot of the game. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you learned something from the game. Thanks for watching.